Alrighty, folks, we are hearing that post-election, the housing market has changed, but it hasn't changed in any meaningful way. We have learned that the 2 or 3 weeks pre-election was crickets and tumbleweeds. Those are words I've heard repeatedly. But now that the election is over, the outcome is known. I have heard from dozens of people that demand is picking up. There are people interested now in buying, but is there anything for sale? We're going to have a conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting time in real estate. It's fun to kind of sit back and think about buyer sentiment and different things that affect demand. And I think the election being over and done with, some, maybe optimism about the economy, we're tailwinds for demand and for buyers. And I saw a pickup in applications and activity, more conversations. The problem lies in that once those people get out there and they're like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, this neighborhood, their realtor goes, all right, well, there's one house that fits that criteria. And it's got a funky layout and it's on a main street and it's this. And so buyers, even if they are more motivated than they were a month ago, there's nothing for them to buy. And I don't think a lot of the markets across the country are much different than what I'm looking at in my backyard in Sacramento. And so, these next 6 weeks, if you're a seller, you might have reason to be concerned. If you're an investor, there's opportunities and deals to be had. If you're buying as an owner occupant, which I work with a bunch of, first-time home buyers and people that are buying homes to live in, there's not a lot of stuff out there. And like the I literally called a couple dozen people yesterday and have 40 or 50 people pre-qualified, just waiting. And the conversations I had were nothing's there. And I don't really expect new stuff to come on the last 6 weeks of the year. Somebody's not going to wake up tomorrow and go, you know what? Let's list our house the day after Thanksgiving. That should be some good timing.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, it's really funny. It is becoming, it's now consistent, right? The first couple of days post-election, I got some weird phone calls from landlords. Oh my God, I got 10 rental applications and I had 0 for a month. I had flippers call and say, hey, I held 3 open houses. Nobody showed up. And then I got 4 offers. It's now consistent that there were a lot of people waiting for the election that just were. They were frozen. I don't know if it was fear. I don't know if it was concern. Doesn't matter. They're now unfrozen. But for team buyer, where you play, you unfortunately need the other side of the transaction, the sellers. And Beth Traverso told me the other day, again, top 1% agent here every week. She's like, Michael, the demand came back, but the supply hasn't. And she's like you. She's like, supply ain't coming. We got Thanksgiving in a week. We've got, Christmas in 5 weeks, New Year's. Dude, no supply. So it's just like one giant holding pattern. Because again, I think to your point, if you're a buyer today and you're willing to stroke that check at these rates, you're not settling. You're not doing, oh, we'll buy it, but it's on a busy street. Nope. Oh, we'll buy it, but it's got a funky layout. Nope. You're like, if I'm going to buy it, it better damn well be near perfect.
Yeah, 100% correct. And that's the thing is that, the homes that are on the market currently, most of them for somebody who's going to own or occupy it is like, I'd be settling and, signing up for a $4,800 mortgage. I'm not going to settle. I'm in this rental. I can extend it for 6 months. And so yeah, one thing to note, if you're an investor, keep your eyes open. If stuff comes on in these next 6 weeks, there's going to be deals to be had. And if stuff has sat and people want to get it, quote unquote, off their books in 2024, it's like going to the car dealership on the last day of the month, right? And like they got a quota to fill. Like somebody's like got for whatever reason, a tax reason might be, I've got to sell this thing in 2024. They might be right now thinking to themselves, let's get this in contract, even if I got to reduce it by 20 or 30 grand. So that it'll close by the end of the year. And so you've got negotiating leverage as an investor right now and take advantage of that, because you don't want to just press pause, which might be the right play for somebody who's going to own or occupy. But as an
Oh, for sure.
investor, you want to go out there and find somebody who's just going to. And the funny part is, Mike, like I've had this conversation with investors, with flippers, with sellers about that side. Sometimes they just say, you know what? Timing on this one sucked. I hope I would have got it on the market by August, September. I missed. I didn't get it on until October. I'm just going to reduce it, get it off my books, be done with it. Fresh start 2025. So like the sellers know, some of them do at least, that they've got to offer a discount because of the time of year. And so that's fun to be a buyer in that type of environment. So take advantage of it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the buyer's market is here. There's no doubt in my mind. If you are an investor, I think you do look for those signs. You use the compelling event of the fiscal or tax year to your advantage, right? Lots of offers, follow up, look for the discounts, look for credits. But to your point, the owner ox next year, right? Because again, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the perfect clean properties between now and the end of the year. Those individuals are going to wait for the spring selling season. And, you know, for Beth, that starts January 15th. For the East Coast, maybe that's March 15th, right? We're going to have a dearth of supply for a while. And I got to tell you, Matt, the move up buyer is still dead. 7% mortgage rates does not inspire confidence to move up. It's bunk beds, it's additions, it's, you know, whatever. We're not going to see
anything but triple your housing payment, for sure. And, you know, yeah, I saw an article this morning talking about, you know, the golden handcuffs where somebody bought their quote unquote starter home and they're stuck in starter. The good news is at least you got starter. There's some people that can't get themselves to starter. And, you know, there will become a time when, for whatever reason, more equity on your side, smaller spread between your current rate and the new rate, there will come a time when you're able to unlock those handcuffs and go from your starter house to something that's 1.5 times the median. You know what I wanted to pull up, Mike? I literally haven't even looked at this yet, but it looks like cool data to me. So shout out to my buddy at Zonda, Zonda. He sent me this as a small little gift. And I think that you'd be a fun person to check this out with, because this is Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom.
Okay.
Just a bunch of cool data. Like this is new home pending sales, which is surprising to me that like Roseville active, lots of building, Folsom active, lots of building. But year over year, like the pendings are down 5%.
Right.
Kind of surprising to me, given that like new builds make up 30+% of my market. What says you about new builds? Because I know later in this report there's stuff about starts and whatnot, like builders.
So I mean, when you look at nationally speaking, single family home starts are down slightly year on year. I just reported that number this morning. They're down 0.5% nationally. 5 units and above, which are often reported in the same numbers, they're down double digits.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Look at these permits. Multifamily permits from 23 to 24 were down 50%.
As they should be, right? You got a lot of new supply coming on. It's all at the same time. This is just going to create a gigantic vacuum or air pocket in a year or so, because these new units will be occupied. They will fill. And then we're not going to have any new building for a while. I mean, it might be a year or two, and then all those projects take 2 years. So Ken McElroy tells us that the multifamily is in a little bit of pain right now, new stuff, but it'll be really good stuff in a couple of years. But back to single family. The longer rates are at 7%, builders actually have an advantage, because most builders, at least the big boys, they're not playing with 7% mortgage rates. They're playing with 5% mortgage rates, and they're eating that cost in margin. So they're playing a very different game. However, when you look at their plan for 25 and their plan for 26, it is my hope, in my belief, that the average square foot size is coming down. And I think that is a net positive. We haven't had a concerted effort at delivering entry-level housing since the 1970s. That's too long. We need that. And I hope all builders go smaller. And by the way, when they go smaller, they can actually build more. So that's what I hope happens.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't heard more about, some of the stuff we looked at, like San Antonio with the, micro builds or whatever they called them. I had a friend of mine post something yesterday. This is a fun conversation too, is like, what type of creative stuff can builders do to make housing more affordable? 1,600 square feet versus 2,600. I know that cost you less to build. You can sell that for less. But one thing this friend of mine shared, I think it was North Carolina. The builder took, call it an acre, and built 7 or 8 houses kind of in a circle with a big shared courtyard in the middle.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I said. My first thought was, that's kind of weird. Like, if you're sharing a courtyard with strangers, but who knows?
Maybe it won't be strangers long.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it builds a sense of community, and your 3-year-old Jack gets to meet their 5-year-old Timmy and ride bicycles on that courtyard. I don't know, but stuff like that is cool to see, because you talk to people who are in real estate, they realize like no more land is being built, right? So every year across the country, land becomes more and more expensive. I just came back from Austin, Texas, which is when you talk about building, geez Louise, dude, and multifamily stuff, like they're nonstop building. I was talking to some Uber drivers. Uber drivers are a great source of knowledge. And they were like, it was not that long ago, a decade ago, Austin was one of the most inexpensive places to live in all of Texas. And now it's the most expensive. Just like that, in a decade, it flipped. Interesting to see what happens in those type of places where, everybody was building, and they were building everything. They were building single family, they're building multifamily. It looks like the forecast for 25 and 26 both is more single family, less multifamily.
Yeah, and frankly, that's the right answer. That's the right answer, given the economics. And again, I just hope it's more entry level. One of the things that I'm hopeful for is that the new administration comes in and has a huge focus on entry level housing. We don't need McMansions. We don't need 2,500 square feet. We need entry level housing. And I would love to see, federal land or regulations or incentives all be to the supply side. We don't need $25,000 down payment assistance. We need supply. So I'm hopeful that comes.
Yeah. Which another conversation I had, buyers, if you're listening, like, you've got to be realistic. You're 31, you just got into a career and you want to become a homeowner because you're starting a family. You probably don't need 3,000 square feet. And, that was part of the conversation I had with some people about affordability and stuff. It's like, expectations have moved too. Yes, homes have gotten less affordable, but anybody who's got the expectation that their first house is going to have 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, and 3,200 square feet, like, that's not where most anybody started.
No.
They had 4 kids in a 2-bedroom house, and that was their first house that they bought, and they might have crammed in there for a decade before the move up happened. So, and that's timing wise. If you think about today's buyer, if your first home is less expensive and it's smaller and you've got a 7.25 tied to it, you're probably going to be feeling pretty good if your move up has a 5.5 attached to it. That was like everybody got to move up in 20 and 21.
Well, that's what happened really the last 40 years. If you go back to 1981, when rates peaked, or maybe it was 82, we had essentially 40 years of rates falling. So the move up process, there were plenty of people who moved up after 8 or 10 years whose payment stayed the same or went down because the rate difference was so big. So it's going to be interesting to watch. You are helping a lot of people. Again, if they are investors, great mortgage broker. If they're homeowners, great mortgage broker. Any closing thoughts? And we'll wrap this up.
Nope. Just greatmortgagebroker.com if you want to connect with me and my team. No matter how much I try, Mike, people are just going to do what they do. And they're super excited about this house. They want to make an offer tonight. Let's get a pre-approval together. Don't be the last minute person.
Yeah.
Get a pre-approval together. It costs you nothing. We don't even have to hard pull your credit. We'll do a soft pull, but you'll have an idea of you should do FHA and not conventional. And here's why. Here's what it looks like on a monthly payment basis. Here's what it looks like on a cash to close basis. Know that stuff before you're out there shopping. Greatmortgagebroker.com. We can help you in 48 states. And then lastly, join the school community. Get around other like-minded investors. Next Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, most people are not going to have a lot going on. So jump on a 1-hour Zoom. Talk about your specific scenario, talk about stuff you're doing. We'll have a good conversation, and I'll get that link to you soon so we can get it up in school and,
Awesome.
continue to have great conversations inside that school community.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing these monthly mortgage conversations with Matt. Ask your questions, bring quotes from others. Just see what's what mortgage. He is wonderful at it. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.
Mhm.